What's up, guys? X Richie here, bringing you season 2 of the F1 podcast. Wow, to think that we're already in our second season and we are about 1 week away, just under 1 week away, for the F1 2022 season, at and the first race being at Bahrain. Um, Crazy, really crazy. Just want to say before we get into this week's episode, just want to say a big thank you and thank you for supporting us on multiple social media channels. We're very excited to announce that we just launched our Instagram, so we'll post it in the comment section below on YouTube and also on Apple Podcasts. We do have a Twitter in the works. Um, so yeah, this is fueled by you guys, and we really appreciate all the support. Just a couple of things. This week's episode, we did have some audio issues, so you might hear some static or something. So just want to give you a heads up, and we will be talking about our season predictions, um, the testing at Bahrain that happened this weekend, and also a little bit of Drive to Survive, not much. I will give a spoiler heads up because we do talk about a couple of episodes, and this is towards the later half of this. So, um, you'll before we get into that section, I will step in and just kind of make an announcement so you can end it there. But anyways, enough of me talking. Let's get into this week's episode. I am so excited to be back. It is the F1 podcast with your hosts, Richie, Andrew.
We are back.
And Erica.
What up, what up, what up?
Hey guys, it's been a while.
It's been a couple months. It's okay. Hope everyone's been doing well. Living life to the fullest.
Staying safe out there, having a trill time.
Yeah. Wow, so much has happened since the end of the season. I think for starters, congratulations, Andrew. You got your dream come true with Michael Massey not having a senior position anymore.
God bless. The F1 gods are looking over us. Michael Massey is no longer going to be a race director. We have two of them coming in. It should be quite interesting. And I wonder how that's going to affect this season, especially when we do not know, or especially when they're going to be taking out radio communications on air between the FIA and the team principals.
Exactly. And yeah, I just want to say from the start to the top, start from the top. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you guys so much for all the support you've given us over the last couple of months. We really appreciate it. We've just created our Instagram page, so please go make sure to follow us. I think it's f1.podcast. We just did our first post the other day, and we're going to be posting a lot on there. We're also on my YouTube, and we're on Apple Podcast, and we are still trying to get through with Spotify. So anyone has any ideas how to do that, please help us out, because we would love to do that. But yeah, so today's segment is technically season 2, episode 1, the 14 episode ? We'll figure out the naming on this one. We'll get there. But yeah, it's been a crazy couple of days. There's been a lot of things going on in the world that has really changed the dynamics of how things are being seen. Particularly, let's just cut right into the chase. Kevin Magnussen is back in F1, and we're very happy to have him back. And he did pretty well at preseason testing. So I think today's episode, we're going to focus on F1 Bahrain testing. We're going to look at make some predictions for the new season. And also we might get into Drive to Survive. I will give a little spoiler when we kind of get to that segment. Not a spoiler free, but a kind of a warning in this in the pod. So just make sure that we did that. But for starters, what do you guys think of the new car? As everyone knows, there's a huge regulation change this year to try to make the field more fair. Everyone is still trying to figure out the new car. It is heavy. I don't know if you guys saw how big it is. It's the heaviest, I think, F1 car in history right now.
Yeah, which is pretty insane. But I think part of that just comes down to trying to put more power and things into the car, right? I mean, there's only so much you can do with a super light engine, and with other components of the car playing piece into the game too. But I like it. I think it is very cool. I have been very clear to you guys that rear wing gives me all kinds of feelings. Doesn't matter what the livery design is for each team. I think it's just super cool and different than what we've seen in the last few years, just from like an aesthetic standpoint. I don't totally get the aerodynamics behind it. That part seems a little strange to me. But it's just a beautiful car from where I stand.
Is there a favorite car on the grid that you like?
Well, I mean, not to be partial to my favorite team over at McLaren, but I do think that's got a really nice design to it. But like a lot of people, I think when Aston Martin unveiled their car for the year, just kind of seeing, the contrast between the green and the bright yellow and things from like a design standpoint was awesome. But it was really one of the first cars where they highlighted the vents that are on the side of it, which are going to go a long way, I think, to help maintaining temperature in these vehicles as they're racing. And it's just a lovely kind of accent to highlight as well. So super keen to see how that plays into things once these drivers are on the track for longer periods of time during races.
Yeah, I think my favorite was definitely Aston Martin's kind of presentation of the car. I also was kind of interested to see the pink back with Alpine to give some homage to the previous car. The Williams one kind of stood out. Red Bull didn't really like excite me. It kind of literally looked like the same car from last year. I do, you guys don't notice, but my background is the new car, and I think they went with a darker red for the Ferrari, and I think it's supposed to pay, because a lot of the older Ferraris, I think when they were in Formula One in the 80s, they had a more of a darker kind of red. So you can kind of see a little bit that. I don't know about the black. The black is going to have to grow on me, because I don't know, when I think of Ferrari, I just think of like it has to be all red, nothing like having the black here or here or here. But that's my opinion. Andrew, do you have any cars that you have been falling in love with?
I think it's a really cool, in the sense that F1 FIA provided like these strict regulations for 2022, yet every team has had a different viewpoint on these regulations, and they've pushed it to their absolute limits in some cases, and how every car looks completely different, which wasn't the case last year. Everyone was pretty much that standardized box, but this year everyone's got like a totally different, in a sense, looking car. Like we have the pool side pods in the Ferrari where you could probably bathe in them if you wanted to, versus Mercedes, who went with no side pods by the end of it.
Yeah.
It's just the crash. It's just the crash structure as their side pod with some cooling. So I think it pays way, because the worse you finished in previous championships, the more time you had with regards to aerodynamics and in the wind tunnel to test your aero package. And I think that's going to be a really big thing you see, particularly with like one car that's really stood out for me, and I'm really happy for them that it actually is pushed this way, is Haas. Yeah. Like Haas has a really interesting car in terms of the sense that it may not look, it looks a little bulky in a sense, but they do have some, like the side pods are really well inundated with the want to really tell based on the existing livery, like where the side pods are for cooling. So I think they have one of the more advanced cars in that case. And, want to welcome Kevin Magnussen back. I know it's an interesting reason why he's coming back with regards to Mazepin going out. And I don't want to get political in a sense, but my 2 cents on this is it's kind of the with regards to sanctions, it's kind of the bite in the hand that feeds, in the sense that the reason you were in Formula One is because of the title sponsor. And unfortunately, with sanctions taking out the title sponsor, you kind of tied to that contract. So effectively, I can see what's going on with regards to Haas and kind of that whole dilemma they had this week. But I think with K-Mag back, it's a really good leadership in terms of being able to push that car into new limits. He's familiar with the team. And then you can clearly tell on days 2 and 3 of testing, when they had extra time post the testing because they couldn't get their They had some cargo issues with the plane. When it rains, it pours, I guess, for them because they had issues with getting freight coming over. But in those last 2 days, they were able to go really quick. First day on day 2, Magnussen set the fastest time, and then on day 3, I think Schumacher was in the top 5. So I think they're going to be it'd be an interesting team to watch going forward this year because it looks like the R&D has paid off.
I just love to jump in here because I've never seen a bigger smile on Kevin Magnussen. And then after when he did his interview after testing, obviously what he's gone through in his years at Haas previously and leaving and then coming back, it'll be kind of nice and refreshing. Maybe he gives that a little bit of that senior leadership or that experience that maybe Mick Schumacher needs to can build on after kind of a successful season despite not scoring any points. So yeah, I'd be interested to see that. And also, not to toot my own horn, but Ferrari, geez, just Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz looking good in that new car just was really exciting.
They were really the only team to be able to run a full their full testing schedule at both Bahrain and Barcelona, which I think was a real big testament to that car's overall reliability. McLaren, they went backwards from Barcelona, unfortunately, because they had a problem with brake cooling in Bahrain, that they just couldn't seem to figure it out. Hope Danny Rick gets back, he's resting, getting better from COVID, hopefully in that case. But Lando put in a ton of laps this week to try and really be able to boost the car reliability overall.
Yeah, and obviously the pod, we want to send our best to Daniel for testing positive for COVID, and we hope that it's a fast recovery because it's going to be interesting if he actually who is going to replace in that scenario, who will replace Daniel Ricciardo if he can't race.
So Alpine,
I saw something. Yeah,
so Alpine's offered up Piastri. They get first dibs on his option, obviously, if something were to happen to Alonso or Ocon. But then McLaren had posted something recently where they also had someone joining their team. Where did it go?
That was a pretty unique move by
Colton
Alpine. Colton Herta, part of their US is going to be building his F1 development here.
Yeah, so he's doing part of the MCL 35M testing and development stuff, but with the new Formula One sporting regulations, I guess he's kind of a part there too. But I think Piastri, Ricardo's already mentioned that he's on the mend and he's feeling a lot better than when he went into isolation and stuff ahead of testing. So I'm hopeful that he'll be back for the race next week, but it'll be interesting to see what happens if he's not, because that'll be, I don't believe McLaren has another reserve driver. So I think that'll be a pretty short turnaround for Piastri to get, even I'm sure he's been working a bit with the Alpine car and is comfortable with that, but knowing that McLaren has had different challenges in preseason testing, it would be interesting to see how he comes out of that if he does end up racing next weekend.
And this is the thing about this sport is that no matter what happens, if a team gets a driver gets dropped, someone tests positive for COVID, it just takes maybe one race to really get them back to start their career. Because I think a lot of these drivers came from those scenarios where they probably got that one opportunity to drive, and then now they're legends. I think Vettel stepped in his first race as a reserve driver, if I'm not mistaken, for BMW. So yeah, I'd be interested to see how that plays out for the rest of the week. But also, can we just take in the fact that we are 1 week away from the start of the season and F1 starting at Bahrain? Oh, just too excited. Sorry. What are some other things that stood out from this weekend? I think it was, for me, it just see the cars racing, because we weren't able to see Barcelona testing because they had it private. I think it was closed off for the media. So FIA, please, we'd love to see testing more. So bring that back. I don't know, Andrew, did anything else stand out for you this week?
I'm really confused about Mercedes.
Oh, yes. I forgot about every second of it.
So a big issue with regard to these cars this year is the porpoising effect, because the downforce is built into the ground and not in the wings this year. As you go down in the straight, right, you build downforce into the car, it hits the road, it pops back up, and it's just a constant bumping and bumping. It's called they call it porpoising, and it looks like you're just absolutely going through a rave when you're driving down a straight, just head banging away in the car.
Super max, super max. Sorry, I'm sorry.
What I think would be awesome is if they actually found Lewis down the straight doing having porpoising issues, and then playing Super Max in the background. That'd be like an all-time worthy F1 meme, I think.
Well, I think we gave someone some content to make.
I hope so. Yeah, exactly.
Control if you're watching, like not watching, listening.
But I was so confused with this car because it's Mercedes. They've won like 8 constructor championship in a row.
But Andrew, sorry, go Erica.
I am curious though, because obviously from what we've seen, it doesn't look like it's necessarily the strongest contender for the season with their car. But I mean, even Carlos Sainz, hearing Lewis Hamilton and George talk about how like, oh yeah, we might not really be contenders to win any races. It's gonna take us a while in the first bit of the season, to be like, no, screw these guys. This is what they say every year. And then they come out of the gate just flying.
It's because they're absolutely sandbagging, Erica. That's what I'm thinking. Like they're just sandbagging. Exactly. But it's tough to sandbag when you see all those problems on the car. I'm like, I don't know how you fix this in a week.
Yeah, some of those are definitely ones that I think are a little more difficult to hide if you were attempting to sandbag. But even still, like we've said, just because they don't feel like they're a strong contender, there are other constructors that are having problems with their cars too, right? So I mean, we saw Perez spin out at one point. Believe it or not, the man could not control the rear of his car, which is shocking for him. And then I think even Latifi at one point had to hop out, and he had a fire extinguisher and was hosing down his car, right?
Yeah, well, so the brakes blew up in the back of the car.
So, I mean, clearly everyone else is also running into their own challenges. So I do think it's probably a little bit more of a level playing field than they're leading on right now. And like we've said, teams in the span of a week, there's so much that they can still turn around, even though, you know, they may have to worry a little bit, you know, with facilities and everything being farther away since they're already in Bahrain. And I think everyone's kind of staying put till the race next week. Mm-hmm. But
no, I will say,
I think Mercedes will be more competitive than they are leading on.
I will say though that I think Red Bull showed their hand at the end of the third day, because they actually looked like the most competent car out there in terms of, you know, race capability and reliability as well, outside of say Ferrari. I don't think Ferrari's shown their true hand as well. I think Bonato's got a couple things on the background, but they definitely raised a lot of eyebrows in my opinion. But I think I would say Red Bull showed their hand a little bit with the new parts coming in. They kind of went down to business at the end of day 3 there going forward. So it'll be tough for predictions. I really don't know what the heck's going to happen this year. Well, that's the beauty of the sport.
So that's the best segment into the next part. So the next segment is going to be predictions. And everyone loves a good season when they change the regulations to make it more fair. So it makes these predictions even more harder. So I will go first. Just got to take a second to think about this. I think this is going to be Sebastian Vettel's final season in F1.
What?
Yeah, people were talking about it, so I potentially could see that happening. I'm going to say Haas will score some points this season, but they're still going to be last on the grid. And that's the hard part, is that, you know, despite like we want all these teams to succeed, at the end of the day, someone's going to have to be at the bottom. I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton will capture his 8th title. It's going to be probably one of those questionable last second races. Ferrari will win a race this year. For the first time, they'll win a race since 2019 at Singapore. And Russell will win in a Mercedes seat.
Nice.
I like them.
Nothing really shocker there, but
I'm
going with the betting odds, basically. Yeah,
that's a good idea. Hey, if I'm a betting man, I go do that too. Erica, what are your predictions?
Oh boy, I feel like I still have so much I need to learn about this season before any of my predictions like ring true to people. But off the top of my head, just from what I've seen with testing in Bahrain, I think Red Bull's going to come hot out of the gate, and we're going to see a lot of podiums and wins for the team, especially in the first half of the season. I do think Ferrari is going to be putting the pressure on them, though, just from what we've seen. And picking up on my controversial statement from before, I do think Sainz is going to be really pressuring Leclerc for which of them is going to outscore this season. And, you know, he's been really pulling through in testing. And I think that's going to continue with the racing, especially with, you know, the changes to the wheel covers and wheel design and everything, allowing for a closer racing. So I think it's going to be, with that as well, a more aggressive season. We're going to see a lot more exciting wheel to wheel action. There's going to be a lot more pressure coming around some of these crazy turns we've seen at tracks in the last few years. Just think about how like Abu Dhabi went at the end of the season with the differences in the design right now. Like it would have been even more insane to see Max and Lewis racing like this. So yeah, I'm hoping Haas is kind of putting the pressure on, and I think we're also going to see Pierre Gasly be a contender for some podiums this year because he's been enjoying the car. He's loving it so far. And I think that once he's in action and he's got that momentum off last season, he'll be putting the pressure on the rest of the field.
I'm going to make a general question. How do we see Alex Albon coming back for Williams this season? Do we think that he's going to get more than 10 points? It's just a general thought that I think about right now.
I think Williams are going to be very competitive this year. I really like Jos Capito. I really like the way that he's been able to turn this team around from like just trying to survive in F1 to, he's a guy that's not afraid to take risks, and you have to take risks in Formula One to get score points. And I think they'll be able to do that this year with everyone clear cut. I think Albon's going to score more than 10 points. I think Latifi's going to score more than 10 points as well. I think he's going to really grow into that car going forward. But I'm going to go on a limb here and say, for my predictions, we're going to have 10 different race winners this year.
I would love that.
What?
Yeah.
10?
We're going to have 10.
That would be so fun.
Here's the thing. I think like the problem with testing is you can't really figure out, guys, everyone runs like different programs and on different tires. But I think since the racing is going to be so tight and everyone's a good driver, I think with the cars being more towards the middle of like around the same regulations in terms of packs initially, I think it's really going to come down to the driver and who's going to really be able to wring every ounce out of that car and be able to race. And I think most notably Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, and George Russell are going to win their first Grand Prix this season. Going forward, I think Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel reach the top of the podium again this year.
That'd be nice.
El plan.
Lewis and of course Max will win, so that's 7. We'll say Gasly is probably number 8. I can see Checo winning.
Oh, you're going through the full thing.
Checo winning 1 for 9, and then you know what? Screw it. Let's give this guy some good vibes, a good vibe check. Let's go Valtteri Bottas. Why not? Who knows? Anything can happen in this year's race. And Alfa Romeo had some really big problems early on, I know, in Barcelona with regards to testing. You finished 5th though on day 3 in terms of, the times. I know you can't really read into it, but I think with Valtteri there, I think there's a change in direction at Alfa Romeo. I really love the livery of that car, but I think this is going to be just an all-out war this season and just an open battle every race, which is going to be great. And Richie, you're going to love me for this, but I've bought a ticket to the Ferrari hype train.
Wait, what?
I bought a ticket to the Ferrari hype train, and I think they're going to win the Constructors' Championship this season.
Hot damn.
I think that's pretty fair. I was predicting second place for Ferrari.
I think Ferrari spent the most time on their car, and I think Binotto has done a really excellent job, really building that car. Again, from preseason, they were really only one who really be able to pull a full package together for reliability, and I think that's going to bode really well. And especially when Sainz and Leclerc, 2 incredible drivers, they're really boosting for this year, and they're really amped up about being able to run full practice programs. in testing. I think that's going to go a long way with regards to team morale. And I think they're going to score points consistently. And that's going to be a key to winning this year's, because with such a crazy battle going on everywhere, and not really know who can win, I think high points are just going to be a key consistency. And that's what I think Ferrari is going to be able to pull off this year for the constructors. So yeah, I'm going to go full in on Ferrari. I'm making the bet right now on my Pro Line app that Ferrari are going to win the Constructors Championship.
Jeez. Of course, this is where I think I would counter and be like, no, it's McLaren, but I just don't have confidence in the car right now. So I don't know, but like Red Bull's strong too. So I think, I mean, you did bring up a valid point earlier that maybe Ferrari hasn't shown the full hand and Red Bull has. So there could be a little bit more gas left in the tank, as it were, for the Ferrari team to kind of pull out all the stops. But
yeah, I mean, like, I think how I see this is coming out is I think Ferrari will definitely be a contender for constructors. I feel more confident saying that like we will be second place rather than first, because like anything can really happen. Because I got to think about this, because Max Verstappen is still going to score some major points this season. So like him winning races or him going 1-2 is going to be good enough. But obviously it's going to rely a lot on Sergio Perez to pick up the points too. So I don't feel confident that it's going to be a constructors win, but I do feel that we are now at that next stage. Like, as I said, like 2020, 2021 now, that they can come P2. For a second, when I thought you said you bought a ticket, we're all still trying to find a ticket for Andrew to come to the Canadian Grand Prix. So anyone who's been willing to not give him a very expensive ticket, please talk to the pod. We would love for Andrew to come to Montreal.
I'll be your best friend for the weekend. And I'm a nice guy. Trust me.
I heard he makes a great bacon and eggs.
I do great bacon and eggs. I do killer drinks at the bar. So let me know. If you have an extra ticket, be willing to have a great time.
How good are you on the Uber Eats orders?
I'm pretty solid. I would say
order in 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, I could do the Uber Eats order in 5 minutes, no problem. It's all about figuring out what everybody wants and then just hammering away at it. You got to be concise, and generally, if you can all order from the same place, that'll be ideal as well. I usually do this, like, we kind of do like a 5-3-1 rule with my girlfriend and I, trying to figure out how to order food. So like I'll pick 5 restaurants, or she'll pick 5 restaurants that she'll want to eat from. Then I'll choose it. I'll break that down into 3 final choices, and then she'll choose the last one. It's a great way to figure out if you don't know where you want to eat. It's a good. It's good teamwork.
Then everyone's on board. Yeah.
Get Andrew to Montreal. Moral of the story. So
I booked my hotel finally. It's like happening. Paid absurd amounts of money for this. So.
Yeah, same. We don't have to get into that, but yeah. Sorry, Andrew, you were cutting in. So
I got a question for both of you. So as we know, Lewis Hamilton was very quiet over the break, and rightfully so. Didn't want to get caught up in the whole social media issue or get caught up in everything like that. But he wasn't one to hold back when he returned in his first press conference about the stewards, and with regards to, I didn't know this, but stewards
yep,
fly with teams.
Oh,
like which I thought was insane. I'm like, how is that possible? So he was hinting at that stewards do fly with teams, or like they fly on the same planes together, which apparently was like, so Antonio Luizzi, who used to be part of the Red Bull teams, I think it was Toro Rosso, but he's a steward, and he would, I think there was hinting that he would fly with the teams. I don't have any information to corroborate this, but based on his initial comments, it sounded like that was the case. So, because he was like saying we really need to have stewards that are impartial. So I'm curious what your takes on that are. It's like, I didn't understand. It's like, it's a chess match within the game, but I find that's quite odd, flying stewards flying with teams.
Well, in the end of the day, like, well, yeah, it's a no-no. Personally, it's a no-no. I obviously don't approve of that. But a lot of these FIA directors or anyone that works for the FIA obviously has some linkage to a team because they've come from a Formula One background in order to know the sport and to be part of those teams. Like, yeah, I hope that doesn't go forward. And kudos to Lewis for calling that out because I don't know. I can imagine if like a soccer referee was traveling with like a team,
Yeah.
like that would not sit well with any fan, period. Especially the controversy at Abu Dhabi. Sorry, go ahead, Erica.
Well, I was going to say, like, think of any sport, like NHL refs, NBA refs, like any type of official, really. So many people would be calling out, like, oh, maybe there was a conversation, you got paid through a backdoor avenue or something to make a call that you did. Like, I feel like, especially with the kind of scrutiny coming off of the 2021 season, if that really is the case and they travel with the teams and knowing that a lot of these people have affiliations with them from past jobs and there might be some lingering loyalty and stuff like that, anything you can do to mitigate someone making a call like that or trying to call you out for, maybe kind of skewing what calls you're making as a steward, you'd want to do. And I feel like, some of those are really long flights that they're on coming across all over the world for these races. Like, that's bizarre to me if that's allowed to happen. That's insane. Like, I am flummoxed.
That's a new word. I never heard of that one before.
Flummoxed and flabbergasted.
Oh, is it real or no? No.
Flummoxed is, yeah, I'm
pretty sure flummoxed is a real word.
Either that or I just heard someone say it on a TV show and made it a permanent part of my vocabulary. But so that kind of raises the question too, just talking about like the stewards and stuff like that. There have been personnel changes this season as well. Yeah. And Otmar going from Aston Martin to Alpine.
Ockham's worst nightmare.
Yes, exactly. This guy finally gets out from under his thumb and then is just thrown right back into it.
Guess who's back? Shady's back again. Sorry.
Speaking of Otmar, he made some interesting comments on was it day 3 of preseason testing. He was in the commentary box with Brundle and Crofty, and he was talking about the micromanaging of Aston Martin. Because apparently, so at Force India, when Vijay had the team, he would come into the factory only like 4 times a year. But apparently, like Lawrence is quite a regular at the factory every day, and quite a little bit of micromanaging going on apparently, and it wasn't a great fit. So I'm really interested. It was interesting to comment about how that team works, and we'll see.
I'm not shocked to hear that Lawrence is a bit of a micromanager. I mean, even thinking of Drive to Survive, like what other team owners were involved in that documentary to that degree, right? And like, I get part of it stems from the fact that there's all the stuff around like, oh, you basically just bought a team for your son to race in and all that. But I mean, I feel like his management style, based on kind of what I've gleaned from interviews and stuff like that, would be a little bit more like hands-on micromanaging than what the rest are doing, because it's really coming from his personal standpoint instead of like through a company, right? Mm-hmm. That's my understanding, at least, is it's like Lawrence Stroll is giving money. It's not like Lawrence Stroll through one of his business ventures, kind of like what we saw with like Mazepin or anything like that, right?
It's X Richie here, back again. Just taking a pause in the chat just to tell people we're going to start talking about the Drive to Survive series here. We aren't going to talk a lot of major spoilers, but we will be talking about some certain moments in certain episodes. We did our best to try not to go into detail with a lot of things, but I wanted to make sure I give this fair warning before we get into the next segment. So with that, we're going to jump into the Drive to Survive segment that we're going to talk. If you don't want to listen to that, you can end the episode here. And we'll see you in the next week's episode. So we'll get right back into it.
How far are you guys? I'm only on episode 5.
I am on episode 0. I have not watched any of it yet, so I will be very quiet for the next while.
I'm on episode 10 right now of 10.
Oh my goodness.
So, but I did. What I will say is, I did see on Twitter that that someone posted that the Netflix team was there at Bahrain training again. So it's not official, but yes, guys, there is a season 5 coming. um, no, it's been interesting to watch. Like, obviously, it's the hype up demand to get you going for the season. I'm literally seeing everybody now on Instagram or Facebook now talking about Drive to Survive. It's definitely hitting more people than we anticipated. It's been interesting to kind of watch. I found the episodes kind of, I don't know, it's obviously every episode kind of has that persona or some type of image that it tries to portray. Or I was just kind of pulled back on the on some of the McLaren stuff, but yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Andrew, do you have any thoughts on? I mean, we also like gotta take it this all with a grain of salt. Like, it is Netflix and it is a movie or whatever. Sorry, not a movie, but they will obviously make things bigger than they usually are. That's just how TV shows are. But I think Andrew, you wanted to pipe in on this.
Yeah, so Drive to Survive, it's built for the drama. I think it's doing a really great job of getting new fans into the sport. I think they've done a good job this year captivating that drama and pushing it forward. Again, there are times where they take audio from different races and they bring that into another race for the episode to enhance the drama. So buyer beware on that one watching. You know, if you watch the F1 season, you can kind of pick out saying, okay, well, I don't remember him saying that here. It was at a different race. So keep that in mind when doing when going forward with this. But overall, I think from what there's been a few points I think you need to take a look at from a fan. And one is the team dynamic, I guess, viewpointed from Try to Survive, or, you know, the perception between the differences between McLaren and Ferrari, especially with regards to Danny Rick and Lando, and then Carlos and Charles. I think they did an interesting job there in depicting on, you know, providing that team dynamic internally between the two sets of teams. I don't want to give anything away in terms of how they do that, but that's something to take a look at for. Another one I really liked was they did an episode on Williams, and when Williams got bought by, I forget the capital venture team, Doralton, I think. When they brought in Yost Capito, I had no idea who this guy was. Like, never heard of Yost Capito at all. I wasn't a big rally guy. Never knew. But after watching that episode, I love Yost. I think he's a great character. He's not like Gunther, but he's kind of like Gunther in terms of that swagger. But it's quite interesting seeing. It's quite interesting seeing how he's been able to kind of rebuild that team, and I think you'll get a really good kick out of him in terms of being character. And of course, Christian Horner to me is just a guy that, you know, is built for Drive to Survive. And
he loves this stuff,
he loves it, and he makes the show. I think him and Toto, and I also really enjoyed a new perspective from Susie Wolf. I thought Susie did a great job. You'll see she's really inundated with regards to describing kind of the feud that happened between Mercedes and Red Bull throughout the year, and because she's at first hand, you know, being Toto's husband, but I think she did a really good job of being able to see both sides of the story. And I think she was a great addition to Drive to Survive this year.
Yeah, no, I think those are all fair points. And as someone who's only 5 episodes in, like, I think there's still like a lot to cover. I'm obviously intrigued to see that Williams episode, and I know I'm currently watching the McLaren, so it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. I hope they really focus a lot on Abu Dhabi. I just really would love to see that, but I don't want to give anything away.
There's one little spoiler. I didn't realize that Zach Brown plays hockey, but he uses a wheel bag. Like, come on,
A
bro.
wheel bag.
A wheel bag.
Oh, okay. Are you team wheel or team door?
Oh, I'm definitely.
God,
There's
not
definitely more
this.
wheels than doors in the world these days.
I'm team wheel too. This got into a heated debate on Friday though, because some people were like, "What are you talking about? Houses have so many doors," and then I was like, "But some people have multiple cars."
Guys, the wheel was one of the first things invented.
There's
There's wheels everywhere.
Think about it, like,
And like, I think people are so limited that they're viewing it just as cars. And I'm like, what about like the little red wagon that kid on your street uses to haul their toys around? That's got wheels. I got wheels on drawers whenever I open them. Like, there's so many more wheels. Is
But
this just because I'm like into Formula One and kind of like a car person that I'm just like, oh, obviously wheels, bro, because I see so many wheels all the time.
I just think of the farm, just like the wheelbarrow literally was the first thing created. Well, the wheel actually was, but like I just think of the wheelbarrow and then just kind of escalates from there. I'm like, okay, I'm literally looking around in my room and I can probably count like 10 wheels alone.
and also to think the fact that like some doors have wheels. Well, wheels don't have
Yeah, like
doors.
a sliding door.
Yeah.
And usually there's more than one wheel for the sliding door.
Erica hitting those hard facts for the day.
But the thing is, wheels shouldn't be on a
All
hockey
about
bag.
creative problem
Zach
solving,
Brown.
people.
Fair. Wheels shouldn't be on a hockey bag, Zach Brown. We need to get you one that you can carry up the stairs. Like they're good for like when you're like a kid. You know, I used to have a wheel bag as a kid, but you know, I just think, come on. Give it on the shoulder. Get it on the shoulder bag, Zach.
I'm just trying to think. Did I have a? No, I didn't have a wheel bag. Did I have a wheel bag? No, I didn't. I had the shoulder bag when I played hockey. What kind of hockey bag did you have as a kid? Please put it down in the comment section below. We would love to discuss. You know what? Screw the this door wheel
predictions.
Yeah. Like what were you? A wheel bag or were you a shoulder bag person? That's where the real conversation needs to go. It needs to happen now. So we're kind of wrapping up on the time here, and you know, I obviously want to be mindful. I think we'll have a bigger episode on the Drive to Survive series, but I will definitely give like kind of just a tidbit here in the section. I don't know, any last kind of predictions, guys? We're 1 week away from F1. That's the season starting. I'm fired up.
I really have no clue
guys, so.
who's going to win Bahrain, but I can't wait to watch.
What I'm excited for is the three of us, and I will send you guys the code to join the league doing fantasy in the F1 app so that we can like have more accurate tracking of what's going on beyond just like podium finishes. So I think that'll be fun. It's going to get needlessly competitive. And
okay, how about this? Person who comes third place has to do a shoey, or second and third place have to do shoeys.
No, I think a third place has to do a shoey. If you finish last, you have to do a shoey.
All right, deal. Okay.
I'm so scared it's going to be me.
Well, they'll put all your money on McLaren. That will probably be.
Hey, you know what? It already paid off for me with the sweaters.
Also, just want to just shout out to the teams. Got some really good gear. Like, let's maybe lower the prices on a couple of them, please. Maybe a little bit more sales.
It was like $152 for a sweater.
You know,
I tried
a very nice sweater. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably the nicest sweater I've ever owned. But
like I would love some Aston Martin gear, but I don't want to refinance my mortgage to have to get some.
That's my thing. I bought like a hat, a t-shirt, and a sweater, and it was like $300.
Jeez.
But someone's got to pay for all those sponsors on the hat and sweater there, Erica.
True. It's very
Next thing you know, like we're gonna have Erica's name on the car, just like it's like you basically just bought your real estate.
It won't be my name. I'm gonna come up with like a memeable thing that'll be on there where everyone's like, "What is this stupid word on the side of the car?" And it will be me. Like it'll have been me that's decided that it'll say like "eat butts" or something like that. If Aston Martin can say, "We'll leave you alone," not Aston Martin, sorry, Alfa Romeo can say, "We'll leave you alone now" on the side of Kimmy's car, I feel like there's some wiggle room with what they'll allow to be printed on there. So.
Happy retirement, Kimmy. We miss you already.
Come commentate. We'd love it.
That would be the quietest commentary ever.
But when he did speak, it would be so good.
Also, do you see the heart-to-heart him and Antonio Giovinazzi did at the on his last race? I almost cried. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna go say bye to Antonio now. He'll come see us in the summer." His little kids.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. So heartfelt.
On that note, guys, it's so great to have you back, and I'm excited to get back into things. We're gonna end it here on episode 1, season 2 of the F1 podcast. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, SoundCloud. I have Twitch.
Twitter will be coming soon.
And Apple Podcast. Yep.
And Twitter will be coming soon.
What's coming?
Twitter. We'll have a Twitter profile.
Tweeters.
Oh, tweeters. Yes. We are in the process of making a tweeters.
Like
And I'm your host, Richie, Andrew.
Everyone get excited. Next week, baby. Next week.
And Erica.
Formula 1, baby.
Andrew, send us off.
Everyone.
Oh, this
Thank
is where
you so
you do
much
the
for
like and
taking
subscribe.
time. Thank you so much. But don't forget to
That's
like
it.
and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Richie, don't forget to like and then subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. All right. We'll see you guys in the next week's episode. Peace.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to this week's episode. We had a lot of fun recording this. We're looking forward to Bahrain next weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. So excited to have the season back. Also, we're making a call out for sponsors and fan questions. We love interacting with our fans, so make sure to send some questions to us, whether if it's on Instagram, whether if it's on our YouTube. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking and going into the 2022 season. But yeah, anyways, super excited. Looking forward to next week. And we'll see you next week. See ya.